when I watch you, listen to you, I feel like there's so much passion in everything you do. Where is that coming from?
You know, I think I have very strong clarity. You know, the luck of the draw of being an immigrant, having very little, growing up with a mom who I think was incredibly thoughtful, and you know, just the serendipity of the way my life played out. I feel like I'm not confused. And let me say what I mean by that. I don't understand how a human that's listening to this or that lives in the world doesn't recognize how remarkable it is to be a human. There are incredible challenges in being a human. There's many things always going on, whether in the macro or in one's individual status. Today, somebody will go to the doctor and get diagnosed with cancer, terminal. Today, somebody will lose a loved one. Today, there'll be macro things going on in the world, everyone knows that. That being said, in reverse, every day that something atrocious doesn't happen to you is actually the greatest. And so I'm incredibly driven by gratitude. Every day I wake up and my phone I didn't have to be woken up in the middle of the night of something terrible. Every day something bad hasn't happened to the 10 or 15 people that mean the most to me. I genuinely, not like the bullshit, you know, motivational quote on social media or on your calendar, I genuinely view that as an epic thing. I'm excited. I'm on the offense, you know, in general as a human. And so I'm very passionate. I'm pumped that I got to be a human. I could have been a hippo, you know, I could have been a flower, like a ladybug. Like, human is the apex of something that's alive. And we're also living in a great era. I know people are very, especially now, there's a lot of challenges going on. If we just rewind the clock 100 years from today, the second we're sitting here, you know, we're on our way to we're in the roaring 20s and it seemingly is good. For the next 25 years, the world is gonna be incredibly conflict with 2 world wars, life expectancy in its 50s and 60s. Like, we have it good. Not everyone listening right now has it good because something bad might have happened. They might be in an abusive relationship. They might be dealing with mental health issues. They may be dealing with health issues. I get that. My push to everyone who isn't dealing with something extreme is choose to be optimistic versus pessimistic and cynical, and you will be flabbergasted on how much more joy you will have. And so the reason I produce so much content is I believe that people who do see from a perspective of hope and love and joy and good have a bigger responsibility in our society right now to start producing more content, because I believe that negativity and cynicism and darkness is very loud. And I feel like light and happiness and joy, they keep it in their circle. They keep it amongst their 12 friends. And I'm willing to deal with the ramifications of a public figure life and all the judgment and the ridicule and the misunderstanding and all the lack of privacy and all the things that come along with it, because I think it's my responsibility that I got fortunate. And I don't love using lucky, but in this instance I'll say it, lucky with the DNA and the parents I had. And I want to be loud, and I want every single person who's listening right now to realize, if you want to find negativity in the world, it'll take you 2 seconds. You can turn on the news, you can go on social and find certain stuff. But if you want to find positivity, you can do it in a second. You don't put on the news, and on social and digital, you find people that are pushing progress, happiness, advancement, offense, and there are millions of them. And I just challenge people to decide for themselves, because you find what you're looking for. Your life is what you decide to look for. Like for us 2, and Dustin's in the room filming me, for us 4 in the room, we were completely shaped by our childhood. DNA, sure, but nature, right? And nurture. And so I believe I'm in a small group of people, and it's not that small, 10, 20% of the world, that is the most fortunate. And I'll say this very slow because I think it may change the perspective of some listening. I believe the greatest way to have the best situation, to have the best potential to have a good life, is to be born in this specific circumstance. To be born in a circumstance with not a lot, not a wealthy family, not a lot, but extreme love and happiness in the household. Because I believe what is happening, and I know that about myself, and I watch it in a lot, basically for the last 20 years, I've been watching people, right? That's why I was so all in on social and was an investor in all those platforms. I believe that if you were lucky enough to be born into a family that is happy, genuinely, that it's a joy, you know, you can't, yeah, there's gonna be conflict here and there, but overall, net score, a joyous, optimistic family. And you also don't associate that happiness with the fact that you're rich, right? Because if you're born into a wealthy, happy family, you as a child are formed, of course, to believe there's gotta be a variable there of the wealth driving this joy. If you're born the way I was, I mean, when I came to America, and I remember this because by the time we got here, I was 4, and we lived there until I was 5.5, 6. I lived in a studio apartment, not much bigger than the room we're in right now, probably 2.5 times bigger, tiny, with 5 to 8 family members, depending on what was happening with our immigration. You know, you can't even comprehend how much of an advantage it is for a child to not have things, but have pure love. You're unstoppable. You never, as an adult, associate happiness with money. Every time I talk like this, including this podcast, I will get comments in my social saying, yeah, whatever, like easy for you to say, you have money, because they know me today. They don't know me from 22 to 30 when I never made more than $60,000 a year. They don't know me. I wasn't public. The world didn't work that way. So, I mean, my upbringing, and then I also had a mom who was very talented. She did something very smart. She built incredible self-esteem. I thought it was the best, but not entitled and delusional. So she grounded me a lot. It was also the 80s and she was from Russia, so I got a smack in the face at times. I think one of the issues with modern parenting is we don't hold kids accountable. We do instill delusion. I believe 8th place trophies have ruined the world. We've demonized losing. I think one of the great advantages a lot of athletes have is no matter when they start sport, there's nothing mommy and daddy can do on the ice or the court. In the classroom, they can literally go and fight the teacher after the report card and change the grade. But on the ice, if you lost 4-2, you lost 4-2. And I think that's a big deal. My number one thing to parents is show me someone who's a poor sport and I'll show you someone I want to get to know. And parents would be upset if their kid cried, and I would like run up to kids that would cry after losses and commend them. You're showing me you care. I think being competitive is a remarkable gift. Indifference is devastating. I mean, I cried basically every day of my life between 6 and 12 because I played everything, competed constantly, and there was not a time I lost between 6 and 12 where I didn't break into tears because it hurt that much. It hurt that much. And I'm devastated watching our society try to tell kids it doesn't matter. Meanwhile, they tell them grades in school does matter, when in reality, the day they become 22, it's the reverse. Competition matters in real life, and grades matter 0 in real life. And so I think, you know, it was a huge shaper of mine, plus where, you know, we moved from Queens to New Jersey. I grew up in a 1980s Edison, New Jersey childhood, which meant my mom had no idea what I was doing. She knew I was in the general area, and what was cool back then is all your friends' parents were your parents too. It was communal, right? It was different. You better behave. You better behave at all times, but you know, we just lived outside. We got into fights, we played sports, we sold lemonade and did business.